Yeah, the space.
Have you got copies of the statement for everybody?
Yeah, my friends.
This is your copy.
These are like you people.
Good afternoon, colleagues from the media, and thanks once more for heeding our call and coming to this important briefing that has got to do with the outcomes of the Alliance Political Council. I've got with me here, there's a list that I had given. There's one statement that I'd given SG, which I think had, because the Deputy Secretary General of the ANC makes me appreciate that protocol is very important when we come to briefings like this ones. So what the Secretary General of the ANC, Comrade Ace Mahashule, from the party, the first Deputy Secretary, Comrade Soli Mapaila, then Comrade Dumo Dlamini, the President of COSATU, Comrade Skumbuzo Mpanza, the General Secretary of SANCO, Comrade Chris Mahlaku, the second Deputy Secretary of General Secretary of the SACP, and Comrade Soli Pedwe, the Deputy General Secretary of COSATU. I'm now going to hand over to the Secretary General of the African National Congress, Comrade Ace Mahashule, to present the statement on the outcomes of the Alliance Political Council. Thank you very much, SG.
This was not something.
And thanks for coming. Let me just read the statement. The leadership is here to respond today to your questions, inputs. This statement is the statement by the Alliance Secretariat on behalf of the Political Council after the plenary session, which was held here at the headquarters of the ANC, Chief Albert Lutuli, from the 8th to the 9th of July 2018. The Alliance Political Council met for the first time after the ANC 54th National Conference from the 8th to the 9th of July 2018, and the meeting reaffirmed the perspectives to drive our national democratic revolution into a new trajectory for radical socio-economic transformation. The Political Council took place against the backdrop of events of much political significance in the country, as well as the world. And the Revolutionary Alliance, headed by the ANC, is part of the contingent of progressive forces to make the world a better place for humanity. In this regard, the meeting received a delegation from the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela, led by the Foreign Minister, Comrade Jorge Arenza, and the Deputy Minister for African Affairs, Comrade Yuri. And the meeting expressed solidarity with the people of Venezuela against the US-led aggression which seeks to undermine her sovereignty. And the meeting agreed to foster relations with the Socialist Party of Venezuela and other progressive forces of the Latin America and Caribbean region. And the purpose is really to foster our common efforts of solidarity and internationalism to bring the unity of the struggles of our two people. The meeting observed of the Council a moment of silence in memory of the passing on of Comrade Petrus Mashishi, the founding president of South African Municipal Workers Union, SAMU, and the Council conveyed its heartfelt condolences to the family, friends, and relatives, including the whole progressive movement. And we have also noted the passing on of the wife to the president of National Union of Mine Workers. The unfolding discussions took place in a comradely atmosphere, characterized by a robust, frank, and honest assessment and evaluation of the state of the national democratic revolution. And the meeting discussed a wide range of issues of far-reaching political and socio-economic importance, with the primary objective of consolidating the unity of our revolutionary alliance at all levels. And the revolutionary alliance took cognizance of the balance of forces in the world and its influence on the direction and the pace of our revolution. This, amongst others, included the analysis of the heightening offensive by the United States of America-led right-wing triumphalism and its adverse consequences on the stability of the world economy. And the Political Council further noted the necessity to strengthen South-South relations and with other progressive forces in the world to restore the prosperity of the world economy to serve the needs of humanity. In this context, the meeting reconfirmed the need to strengthen BRICS community of nations. And the Political Council raised concerns about the socio-economic challenges, as you know, confronting our country, which include job losses and the rise in the cost of living. And in this context, the meeting resolved to do everything to cushion ordinary people against the impact of the deepening economic crisis. Part of this will include a need to work with the economic cluster on finding ways to introduce relief measures against the VAT and fuel price increases. And part of this work will be integrated into the preparations towards the job and financial sector summits. You have noted what the President has said in terms of making some announcement in some few months, for a few weeks to come. And the Council also took place during an important historic year, the year marking the centenary anniversary, celebrations of two of our most outstanding revolutionary icon figures, Comrade Nelson Rolihlahla Mandela, as well as Mama Albertina Sisulu. And through their exemplary life, we have learned the importance of unity of purpose and unity of action. And discussions were characterized, as I said, by a commitment from all components of the alliance to strategically map out a program towards the effective functioning of the alliance and therefore consolidating the strategic objectives of our revolution. And the meeting appreciated the growing confidence and the mood of the vast majority of the people of South Africa towards the ANC and progressive movement in general. And in this regard, the meeting focused more on the centrality and the importance of the unity and cohesion of our movement, the alliance partners, and our people. Therefore, the meeting resolved that moving forward, the priority should be the mobilization of the motive forces of our revolution and taking the importance of the contribution of the people of our country towards the building of a democratic, non-racial, non-sexist, and prosperous society. And in this context, the following political issues constituted the agenda of our meeting: the reconfiguration of our alliance, and the meeting received a presentation from the party on the proposals regarding the reconfiguration of the alliance, and we all agree that an alliance secretariat-led task team be established to work on modalities and seek to modernize the practical working mechanisms in the alliance. And the leadership is here to talk more about this question. A discussion document will be developed which will be made available to all structures across the spectrum for our revolutionary alliance formations. This will be part of the broader work which will culminate into an alliance summit to be convened by the end of October this year. And towards the Alliance Economic Summit, subsequent to our agreement to hold the Alliance Economic Summit, the meeting agreed to prepare towards the convening of an Alliance Economic Summit, and the summit will focus, amongst others, will focus on proposals regarding the economic and labor market sections of the NDP, statecraft planning, coordination and government, as well as size of government, preparing towards the jobs and financial sector summit, public transport, in particular the passenger rail trail, the issue of taxation focusing mainly on VAT, zero-rated goods and fuel, energy security, the energy mix, our health system in terms of our implementation of the NHI, the fuel price increases, then the general rise in the cost of living, the mining charter and the mine safety matters, the issue of the land distribution, the fourth revolution, and its impact on the future of work, fourth industrial revolution. And we agreed that the 2019 election campaign, the Alliance agreed all of us must now be on the ground, work together to ensure massive victory of the ANC in the coming 2019 general election. And in this regard, all Alliance formations shall without fail participate in the national, provincial list committees and also take into account matters that will arise from the Alliance Summit. We have committed ourselves to making sure that we don't disappoint our people, South Africans, our structures, and therefore will consolidate unity. The meeting also appreciated the report regarding the Tumamina campaign and agreed that this campaign is to include getting government to act decisively on matters raised by communities, and a clear message to be communicated to our people that even if they have the right to raise their concerns about the challenges of service delivery and any other issue, they must at all times not abuse their right of peaceful protest as an instrument to destroy property and therefore undermine the security of our people. And we have also agreed, you remember COSATU, on May Day they marched and they demanded that May Day, Freedom Day and Election Day should be a non-trading holiday. We have noted that South Africa has 13 public holidays and that only May Day, Freedom Day and Election Day should be non-trading holidays. And on the health sector, health system, we appreciate it and we welcome the implementation of the national health insurance. And the meeting received a presentation on the national bill, and all in the meeting expressed broad support, and we embraced the national health insurance bill. It was agreed that there will be an alliance campaign to popularize the benefits of the national health insurance, because it is going to benefit in the main the poor and the working class, and generally the South African society. The Alliance will support all programs related to the implementation of NHI, working with other mass democratic forces. And we noted that this comes handy because the Cuban program, the Mandela Fidel Castro program, the meeting received progress report with regard to the South Africa-Cuba Medical Exchange Program, commonly known as the Comrades Castro Mandela Program. And the meeting was indeed encouraged by the completion of more than 700 medical students studying in Cuba, and noted that they will be arriving in groups in these coming weeks. By the end of this July, the 700 Cuban students from South Africa who trained in Cuba will be all over South Africa for their last 18 months. This historic and strategic program stands to cement our long-standing friendly relations between South Africa and the Republic of Cuba, whose contribution to our liberation struggle is unequaled. And the program also stands to benefit the overwhelming majority of our people, particularly the urban and rural poor. Moving forward, it was agreed that the program has to be taken to the higher levels through coordination by national government. And the meeting agreed to conduct an audit of all South African students on scholarship bursaries programs throughout the world with a view to reassess their skills requisite and their contribution towards the improvement of the living conditions of our people. And this task will be coordinated by the Alliance. The meeting received a report in terms of energy security on IPPs, and it also discussed the future of power stations whose lifespan has come to an end. And the meeting agreed on the need for further detailed, comprehensive discussion on energy security. And the meeting also discussed the reported possible future of power stations, affordability of energy, and its impact on the economy and jobs in particular. And we agreed, therefore, in moving forward the alliance needs an alliance program of action. And the Secretariat will, from this political council, identify issues, of course, which we have already identified, which will include, amongst others, a program to tackle corruption and dismantle the parasitic networks which have captured some sections of the state, address the issues that militate against the unity of the alliance and the movement as a whole, implement the national health insurance system as we are doing with the land issue, and deal with the issues, femicide, violence against women and children. Those are some of the programs of actions of the alliance, and you'll see us out there throughout South Africa in the streets and corners of South Africa. The role of SOEs were also discussed, and I think the meeting received a report on the state of SOEs, and this included the state of the country's finances, which include details on tax and revenue policy. And the meeting noted with concern about allegations of corruption in our SOEs and agreed on the need to enhance their administrative capacity to confront such challenges. And we also identified and felt that the developmental role and mandate of SOEs must never be eroded. And we also focus on the issue of land, which we have extensively discussed. The meeting encouraged our people to participate in the current parliamentary public hearings on the expropriation of land without compensation. And it further acknowledged the Cabinet Committee to engage with traditional leaders in this regard. And meetings has already taken place between the ANC and the leadership of Contralesa, as well as the leadership of the party has interacted with the leadership of Contralesa. Maybe we are not out there in the public. The Alliance Political Council also received a report about the cordial and friendly meeting between Comrade President Ramaphosa and King Zwelithini, Goodwill Zwelithini. And the meeting further support the statement by the President of our country that government has no intentions to expropriate land held in trust by traditional leaders on behalf of communities. And we agreed, therefore, that we are going to have our continuation of our political council, and that political council will continue again on the 15th and 16th of July. And this meeting will, amongst others, discuss the state-owned enterprises and the finances of the state, as well as those current issues, the petrol hikes, and we'll come back again and inform the nation. So you can see the alliance in action, you can see the consolidation of unity, you can see renewal as mandated by the 54th National Conference, but also as mandated by our constituencies to further work together and strengthen our alliance moving forward into the future. So we are going to allow you to interact with the leadership here to give flash to whatever questions you are going to pose or give meat.
Thank you very much, Secretary General. We are now going to open for questions. Today you just put your hands up even before we. Okay, we can start with questions. Just have to introduce yourselves and the media outlets you represent, so we are all on board.
Hello. Okay. TV Madia from News 24. I suppose it's a question, two questions for the SACP. Solly, how do you generally deal with the issue around parasitic networks when you're in conversations and declaring you'll root them out with people accused of leading those parasitic networks? I just want an answer around that. And also, working together on the ground for a decisive victory for the ANC. What do you then say to SACP members who wanted you to go at it alone in 2019? Thanks.
Hi, my name is Clement Manyatela from Eyewitness News. Thank you. I want to ask about the alliance, the reconfiguration of the alliance. You spoke about the modality I suppose, a task team that will look and work on the modalities, but what were the discussions and what are you drawing closer to? The SACP has said the entire alliance must be the strategic center of power. Is that what you're drawing closer to, or are you going to allow the task team to decide on how this reconfigured alliance looks like? I want to ask on elections. You spoke about working together. SACP, COSATU, you've raised issues around the participation of former President Jacob Zuma. You said his participation will have an impact sort of on the electoral outcome because his participation damages the image of the organization. Did you raise those issues with the ANC, and what's the resolution there? Does he stay, and are you happy with that? You spoke about a program to tackle corruption. I just want some clarity on that and a bit more explanation. What kind of program have you resolved on to tackle corruption in the state? I think you said there are elements of that corruption that have captured the state. What is that program looking like? Just a little more detail on that. Thank you.
From ENCA. My question would be to the South African Communist Party and to the ANC in particular. You have been very clear about your views on the former president of the ANC, Jacob Zuma, about his participation or his name being used by a certain grouping wanting to form a new political party. He has responded to you. How is the tripartite alliance going to deal with this seeming factor that is still there of the presence of former President Jacob Zuma in ANC structures and meetings? Hence, you are going to be on the ground campaigning for the 2019 general elections. How are you going to deal with this? And directly to Solima Paila, you were very vocal about this parasitic networks, even said that they are seemingly of the Gupta family. The ANC SG, now Metsimaholo, has been linked to a number of allegations of corruption and wrongdoing of this parasitic network that you speak about. How are you dealing with this as the Alliance Secretariat and the Alliance Political Council? And then the last question is, it's no secret that the Alliance was divided and it barred former President Jacob Zuma from coming to the event last year. How are you going to deal with this scenario in the future where an Alliance leader, such as the President of the ANC, is barred from speaking at Alliance Party structure events? Thank you.
Okay.
I'm Kalambata from Global News. Just to the SACP, you spoke out quite strongly last year against some of the decisions that were being taken by the former President Jacob Zuma in support, of course, of his party as well. Does it mean now that when you go to the 2019 elections that the whole of the SACP will be throwing its full might behind the ANC's election campaign in 2019? And then my second question is a follow-up on Samgela's question. There's reports that the ANC's SG, Mr. Metsimaholo, is linked to possibly having some of his friends and family benefit from contracts while he was the Premier of the Free State. This is a report that has recently come out from the Daily Maverick. I just wanted to get a response from the SG on that.
My name is Zingisa from the Sunday Times. I have a question, a similar question to the three of you, SACP, COSATU, ANC, on the land question. Firstly, the SG says you spoke to Contralesa. There's Contralesa and then there's National House of Traditional Leaders. And those are two groups that represent traditional leaders in the country. But the two of them themselves don't agree on the approach on the issue of land, whereas Contralesa seems to take more of the EFF stance that says all land must be in the custodianship of the state. The National House of Traditional Leaders is on the line that the land that belongs to the traditional leaders must not be touched regardless of what happens with land expropriation without compensation. As the ANC, as COSATU, as SACP individually, where do you stand as far as that question is concerned? Also a follow-up on the land question. There's a view, among others, of this process of the land hearings being a sham. Other people believe that a referendum would achieve a much better outcome in terms of gauging the views of who's who in the zoo as far as the land question is concerned. What is your take, all three of you, on a referendum instead of the current process that is unfolding? Thank you very much.
Okay, my name is Tim Fenyani from SABC. My question is directed to COSATU and SACP. I want to know from you as to whether the tension which plagued your alliance last year is now been in the past. Have you resolved your tensions? And then my second question is on the Trinidad. Last year you fielded a mayor, a candidate to contest the Metsimaholo municipal elections, where you have a by-election where you have your own mayor there. Are we, now that you are, the SACP, the SG said you are going to contest election as a collective, have you now shelved your proposal to contest elections outside the ANC next year? That's my question. These are my two questions. Thank you.
Okay, we are done with all the questions. The leadership of the alliance will answer the questions, and the entire secretariat is here. DSG, you want to open it first, or Comrade Soli, the deputy? SG? Okay, you can.
Thank you very much, Comrade Pule. Just to confirm that indeed we are part of the statement and have participated in the Political Council in the past 2 days, if I may. And there was specific questions to COSATU. I'll just pick on that. There's one on COSATU and land raised here, whether we would support a view whether that the National House of Traditional Leaders hold, or as Contralesa puts it. And indeed, COSATU supports the ANC NASREC resolution on the restitution of land without compensation, of course, having to work on the modalities of the law so that that could be done within the law. And that we add an issue there, which is very key to us, and I think it's key to everyone, that even in the land that will be under the traditional leadership in this country, what we call the security of tenure, not just for workers only, but citizens of this country who occupy the land, whether it belongs to Ingonyama Trust or any other traditional leadership in this country, which COSATU respects very much the leadership of our people in the form of Amakosi. So we are very particular about that issue, that if the land question does not address the security of tenure, it's a problem. If the rights of women are not respected, it's a problem. So an opportunity should be availed for when we're dealing with that question, we also take into account those issues. So COSATU supports the ANC's resolution and would appeal that the engagements as they were reported in the meeting with the traditional leadership be indeed carried through, so that there is no ambiguity or confusion about what the ANC-led alliance is doing about that matter. Of course, we respect the right of everybody to speak, raising the issues as they happen in the hearings, and we think the hearings as they are obtaining are a very proper platform for South Africans to come and contribute in this discussion on how they want to see this matter being resolved going forward. The issue of the referendum, that has not been discussed within COSATU. And of course, within the Alliance meeting, I don't remember us relating to that issue. So I would rather leave that one. There was a question about the fact that COSATU, and I will speak on that score, COSATU took a decision last year to not allow the former president of the African National Congress addressing meetings of the Federation. And the question is, going forward, what will we do should a similar situation occur? If I understood it very well. The position of COSATU is that we have approached this Alliance Summit, our Alliance meeting that we're coming from, as a platform where we have begun to deal with the issues that were concerning the Federation and the Alliance as a whole. And we're happy that this process has started, albeit it took so long. However, issues are being dealt with. And we must all work hard to prevent and avoid a situation where we could be taken to that state where an alliance partner leadership could be prevented from addressing a meeting of COSATU or any of the alliance partners meeting. So we are enjoined on that one, that we are going to ensure that such things cannot repeat themselves by having a program of the alliance, agreeing on the issues that we need to, which includes the way we would envisage a reconfigured alliance. Because once we sorted on those issues, it becomes possible to move forward in a manner that you can never have a situation where you must individualize issues in an organization, deal with the issues and properly so. The last thing I want to mention, which is critical, COSATU indeed continues to have a resolution to support the ANC. We are going to our Congress, and it will continue to guide us, but we are in as we speak right now.
Yeah, thank you very much. Just a few points. The first one relates to the question of dealing with parasitic networks. It's no longer a matter of the SACP per se. It's in our alliance statement. It does not matter who is involved. At the same time, we have also expressed the view that all of this should be not a witch hunt, but should happen within the framework of the rule of law, with due respect given to individuals in terms of their rights, but action must be taken against wrongdoing, against corruption, to dismantle all the networks that have inhibited the capacity of our state and state-owned enterprises to function optimally for the development of our country. So that matter, it's much clearer from our side, and it's much clearer from the side of the alliance. Regarding whether we will be, firstly, this question of the role of former President Zuma. As communists, we are compelled to always speak the truth. We have raised the matter in the meeting. But I must indicate that it will be important to appreciate that President Zuma is still mourning the loss of his son. And we express our condolences to him and his family on this blow of losing a loved one. And we want to respect him in that space to mourn properly. Regarding the land question, we participated in the workshop that was convened by the ANC on land, where we developed a broad framework. The government has is establishing a panel on land, which will continue to participate to shape its views. Our statement calls properly for our people and our members particularly to participate in the public hearings being conducted by Parliament to raise their views with regard to the land question within the framework of our various conference resolutions. As Communist Party, our basic posture to the land question always derives from the question of property relations. That is the relationship between the people and the ownership of property. The land being a very important aspect of property. I'll give an example. As a person that was born in a township in Thokoza, I have no access to land apart from just that small part, which is the family holding. So I should have the right to access the land in my own country. And therefore the affirmation of the right of property to our people, it's fundamental. We want to entrench, for instance, with regard to the people in the townships to have, when we have acquired a household, even if you have bought the house through the market, whether it's through the banks and so forth, to be difficult to be removed from your house willy-nilly on the basis of the interest of the banks. So that the question of security of tenure is fundamental, and I think Comrade Zuma was emphasizing this point. But I'm just highlighting the aspect that deals with the section of the people in the urban areas. Because the land is not just about the rural question or agriculture per se. It's the totality of everything. With land and labor, two principal values, we are able to live. And that's why we reject the appropriation of land by the capitalist forces as much as the appropriation of labor by the capitalist forces from the masses. And therefore, it also goes to the relationship of productions, that is production relations between the land and the people, and how the people utilize the land for their well-being. The same with how to distribute the outcome or the produce from the land for the well-being of the people. So that's the framework we come from in this question of land as the SACP. Regarding Metsimaholo, it's important to note that our coalition in Metsimaholo is with the ANC. That's very important to acknowledge that part, and we're working together with the ANC in running that municipality. Of course, the question of the participation in the election, as in the statement of the alliance, we have always affirmed that we're having a discussion for the reconfiguration of the alliance, simply meaning we're having a discussion to change the way in which the alliance has been functioning or operating, so that the alliance can be inclusive and be based on democratic, consensus-seeking approach. That's the framework, what we have contributed to the debate as the SACP, and we're able to trace the historical evolution of the alliance. And the alliances are affirmed at the moment the necessity for its continuation. That is why we've now established a task team of the Alliance led by the Alliance Secretariat to finalize now a single and common document of the Alliance, which will now be discussed across our structures. That is the structures of the Alliance, leading to the National Summit of the Alliance, wherein we will now finally agree on the framework, the modalities, the character of the Alliance. So that is the update of the Alliance. That will then be finalized through that particular process. Therefore, the SACP Congress resolution regarding the reconfiguration of the Alliance and our participation in the elections does give us two options. The first option, which has been the current practice of the SACP, it's a framework within the Alliance. But the Congress has said it can't happen until the Alliance has been reconfigured. That is why we're having that process of reconfiguration of the Alliance, so that we are clear about how we are participating on what basis are we now participating going forward based on the Congress resolution. There's no deviation from the Congress resolution. We are also having our own special central committee this coming weekend, on Friday and Saturday, to discuss the feedback from our structures across the country on the document that has been released by the Central Committee, which we presented to the Alliance for discussions. But as I indicated, the Alliance will still have to finalize a common document based on the various inputs of components of the Alliance. The second option from that resolution was that we should go ahead and establish a front and participate in the election through that particular front. But that's on the basis of the failure of the reconfiguration process. So if the reconfiguration fails, there will be that process. We hope the configuration will not be able to fail in that regard. Nonetheless, we have also said the establishment of the front does not necessarily have to be an electoral platform. In fact, the Alliance has accepted that our first task, because the Alliance itself is a front, this existing Alliance, that our first task to work together to prove the new way of doing things is to defend the National Health Insurance, which is a program of all of us in the Alliance. On Thursday, we're having a seminar of the Alliance to prepare a framework for the campaign on the National Health Insurance, as well as to appreciate the outcomes from the Competitions Commission Tribunal against the medical aids, which are fleecing the masses of our people and have escalated the cost of health in the country. Now the Alliance is coming on board to strengthen government's interventions in that regard. So the broad front is not necessarily an electoral platform, but from the Congress it could be both. But at the moment, we are participating already, not just in the national elections team, in the national elections list, but also in the national elections team of the ANC on an ANC-led alliance elections program, which has always been the case. So far, I think that these are the questions that I think were specifically directed at us, but in the main, is a collective approach of the alliance, and we appreciate the new environment of working closely together. The issues that were not finalized are issues that we have again created enough time over the coming weekend, and the Communist Party in its gesture as well cut one of its Central Committee days so that we can have an extra day for the Alliance to continue to finalize the economic sections that are quite urgent for our people. Thank you.
Good afternoon. You should relax. You should not be as tense as you are. No, of course, as SANCO, we also want to affirm the alliance resolutions that were presented before you by the Secretary General of the ANC. One issue that we want to raise as SANCO
is that as much as we are saying we will have to intervene in the issues of corruption, and there are a lot of allegations flowing all over the place about about our leaders' involvement and all those issues, but we must observe the principle of presumption of innocence until proven otherwise. Because as a constitutional state and a law-abiding country, I think as South Africans must respect that principle and respect as well all the law processes and not jump to conclusions and actually subject individuals and leaders to kangaroo courts and media courts, as always sometimes is the case. So it's just that we want to put that rider as an organization who represent Abahlali in South Africa, because all the Abahlali, they must be treated fairly before the law. As SANCO also, we've got a campaign that we are driving, and it's starting to actually gain ground, particularly in provinces like Mpumalanga. We've seen a lot of people coming out, marching under the banner of SANCO, raising issues, particularly service delivery issues, because there's a lot of issues that are, communities are not happy about as far as service delivery is concerned. You've seen the protests that are taking place, people blocking highways. You've never seen that happening in any country. So it shows that the level of frustration of our people is becoming very much high. And as an alliance component, we have then created that platform for the communities to be able to and encourage them to speak out. But this is actually part and parcel of Tumamina campaign, which now we have agreed as an alliance that is an ANC alliance-led campaign. So these campaigns, will see them unfolding concurrently and together. But the main one is Tumamina campaign, which we all embrace as an alliance. Lastly, we want to also confirm and support the issue of the reconfiguration of the alliance as SANCO. But we are acknowledging the fact that we can't conclude this discussion overnight. There are processes that we have put in place, as it has been alluded in our statement, and we think that at the end of the day, we are going to be able to find each other and then resolve all the issues that maybe was actually creating the alliance not to function the way it's supposed to, and then strengthening the relationships amongst the alliance components. Thank you.
I think we must say to you that what unites us pales in comparison to what is a perception of what divides us. And the good thing about a strategic alliance is that we have the freedom to discuss things very openly and in a robust manner, to come to conclusions about how we move forward. Top of mind for all of us is the creation of new jobs in our country. And that goes with looking for direct inward investment into South Africa. Secondly would be access to health and education services, not only access but quality of health services, as well as the cost of health services to all of us in this country. And that is why we've agreed on a program jointly to popularize the National Health Insurance Bill and the policy itself. Also, it's important for you to note that we've agreed on non-trading days, 3 of them, which includes a May Day, Freedom Day, and all election days, so that workers are not denied the rights to go out and vote on election day, as happens currently in many instances where the retailers in the country deny workers the right to vote on election day, as well as on May Day, workers are not given the freedom to participate in the celebration of Workers' Day on May 1st. On Freedom Day, many of us see that people are not enjoying the benefits of our independence from apartheid and colonialism of a special type. We don't see that because many people are working. On the land issue, I think it's incorrect to classify people talking to themselves about a critical matter as being a sham. I think that's hyper-cynical, and I think we need to say that to you. That level of cynicism is what will drive away the concept of what this is about. The World Bank itself, which is, I think, a supporter of the Sunday Times, indicates that this is an incomplete transformation. We have not completed the transformation of this country. So when an important institution to whom capitalists thoroughly believe in says it's an incomplete transformation, I think we must take heed that our people are talking to each other. And in talking to each other, contradictions will arise. And yes, Contra-Lesa and the National House of Traditional Leaders may have a difference of opinion, but so do many other South Africans. There are South Africans who firmly believe that even discussing the land issue right now is tantamount to creating more joblessness, which is really a way of putting things in a particular way. So we will continue to discuss, as South Africans, the question of land, towards looking at whether we should be taking a decision to change our constitution, or as some have said, we don't need to change the constitution. We have enough laws at hand to have land taken without compensation, expropriation without compensation, just using the current constitution. Let's allow that debate to continue. And let's allow that debate to take its full course and not be interrupted by, as we all know, the skepticism of those who don't want this debate to take place. It must take place. It is. On the question of crime and corruption, we all agree that we must put our backs behind all manner of abating criminality, including corruption and parasitic networks. However, we must also say that it's very important that we don't cover the real problem that we face by putting out false statements of who is a criminal and who isn't. Allow the law to identify criminality. Allow the law to charge people appropriately. Allow the courts to be independent and to make the right decisions at the end of a process. If we continue with a process of already finding people guilty, because that is the choice we are making, then we're not allowing the law to make that choice. And people have a right to defend themselves, and they have a right to be heard in defending themselves appropriately. But for all of us, that is a priority issue. I also would like to just add one more and say to you that we as an alliance have agreed that we are going to work together, that we're going to talk to each other, that our economy needs our attention, and the fiscus of this country needs our attention, including issues such as wastage in the government, including issues in the government that may be where people discuss the bloated state itself. But we want to discuss statecraft in our next discussion. Very seriously. What is the state doing? Who is the state? Which direction is it going? So I hope that we can take you along with us on this journey of a strategic alliance working together. We're not a technical alliance. We're not there for tactical short-term gains, but for the ultimate goal of the transformation of South Africa.
Well, I read the statement, so you'll expect me to respond also. But we have heard the alliance have responded. And with few contradictions, you see contradictions as something else. We see contradictions as helping us to address things because we are a vibrant, dynamic organization and we evolve over time and we are not static. We self-correct, we learn lessons, we introspect, we talk about the then and the now, and out of the lessons we then say, how do we move forward? And this is what the Alliance has actually done. Where we learned our mistakes, we have actually corrected. And you will still find us as independent organs, because you are not going to expect when the Communist Party, South African Communist Party has a position, or COSATU has a position, you are not going to say we are divided. We are independent entities, we have different views, we converge where we have to, and we allow ourselves to have that space. So tomorrow when the SACP says something, don't say now they are coming from the alliance, they said they've agreed. SACP will still have its own positions, and where they feel strong, that's the dynamism of our engagements and moving forward into our national democratic revolution. And I think you must comprehend that. And you must appreciate the fact that it is this alliance, it is this ANC, which recognized during the years of apartheid and now the institution of traditional leadership in terms of our constitution, in terms of our law, whether it's Contralesa or the House of Traditional Leaders. To us, they all matter. All those community organizations and everybody, stakeholders, matter to us because they are part of the broader society. So you can now see the alliance in action. In Metsimaholo, Comrade Soli has correctly said it. The ANC is there, SACP is there. We don't see the mayor of SACP, they are all members of the ANC, they belong to different entities, they belong to SACP, and we are one. Because of the contradictions, we are even becoming more stronger. And that's how we build and renew this organization as the resolution of the 54th National Conference. So I'm sure you'll report positively and like South Africans and make sure that you convey our message without diluting it, okay? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. This now brings us to the end of the briefing, and thank you for coming at such a short space of time. Thank you very much. This brings us to the end of the briefing. Okay, thanks.
Thanks, Comrade.
Yes.
Well, you know, we think that there has to be, within the alliance, a monitoring and evaluation component as part of our configuration. We all monitor the situation. But what we really looking for